Attendees. Update attendees. Rightio. So got a nice group of people in already.
Good stuff.
Give it another 30 seconds. Warm enough for you, Matt?
Yeah, roasting. The aircon's not working in my car, which is lovely.
It's a nice time for it to break down.
Yeah, exactly.
The attendees that are already in the room. Obviously, today what we're going to do is obviously have a chat with Matt, Mr. Tech, on sustainability of technology. We're also going to show you a new way of actually. A lot of events are going to be now virtual. So what we're going to do is actually show you. Hold on, someone said something. Can I not see this? Oh, Vinny says hi. Hello, Vinny. Yeah, we can actually show you a way of actually incorporating Matt's tech and promo product into a virtual event, where at the end of the event, you look at who's attended and you send them a voucher. They go onto a website that we create and put in their voucher code and pick a piece of promotional merchandise. We pick, pack, and dispatch it to the person's home. So again, people are saying, well, why do we need merchandise now? How can we promote ourselves? Well, by having events like this, whereby you're going to learn a hell of a lot from Matt. And then at the end of it, we still want you to then touch, feel, and see what a piece of promo is like. But obviously, some people don't want that that ability to actually have to touch the product, send it. They're not back in the office. We can take that headache away. That way, obviously, one use codes, and it could well be that you have multiple levels of people joining. So in which case, what we can do is actually have a code worth more than that code. So if that code's put in, only X amount of product is shown. So we're going to also present that as well. And Matt's kindly going to brand some OB Sustainable Tech up. So you guys will receive a link. You're going to get to actually use the code, and we'll dispatch it to you once it's been produced. So yeah, right. We have got people in the room. Right, let's crack on. What we're going to do is obviously introduce ourselves. Have a chat about sustainability in general. Obviously, we did sustainability as far as clothing was concerned, but this is quite a leap forward with tech. Then Matt's going to show us some of the sustainable products that he has, and then we're going to do some Q&A. If, for instance, you've got questions throughout, don't hesitate to ask them. That's enough about me. Matt Pluckrose, founder of Desktop Ideas, Mr. Tech, Inspector Gadget, you name it. Matt, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi there, Andy, and everybody in the room. Yeah, we've been running a tech company called Desktop Ideas now for over 20 years. We've, over that period, brought all the latest gadgets and innovations to the promotional marketplace, which would include things like photo frames, first company to sell computer flash drives, Skype phones. So over the years, we followed the trends of major consumer brands like Apple, Samsung, etc., and found really useful accessories which can support a logo or a message, and then deliver them to people like Andy to then promote marketing throughout the industry. So yeah, at the moment, there's a lot going on in the tech world, and certainly a lot going on, of course, in general, and we've seen a lot of changes in demand over the last sort of 10, 12 weeks since the lockdowns come into place.
Matt, let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? What has been the biggest change for you in these 10 to 12 weeks?
I suppose the demand for higher volume items has dropped away, of course, as exhibitions and events have all been cancelled and postponed to later on this year or next year. But I guess the biggest product change we've seen is one towards more products which are useful for working from home, looking for products, I guess, which are more a reward for either loyalty to a brand or to staff and to team members. So things like Bluetooth headphones, handy sort of USB hubs have been very popular over the last kind of 10, 12 weeks. As people all adjust to a new kind of way of working from home, then to provide them with nice quality tools to support that has been where we've seen the market move to, and away from things like kind of sort of charging cables and the more higher volume items, which was probably very much our bread and butter before the coronavirus and the lockdown.
Do you think you're going to be anytime soon sending out a face mask with some sort of tech in it?
Face mask is something that we took a positive decision not to get involved with around about 8-9 weeks ago. But who knows? We're certainly on the lookout for any new innovation. We're very happy to look at it and certainly could consider that for the autumn. We certainly, one of the new innovations actually which is coming along, Andy, is what they call Uvc Cleaning Boxes, which is basically a device that you put your phone into, and then it zaps it with what's called UVC light, and then that kills the bacteria and the germs on the phone. And that's something that is sort of, let's say, a sneak preview we're looking at for the autumn period, whereby you can brand it with your logo. Potentially, we can make it out of a sustainable material, and it enables you in the working environment to basically zap your phone surface with a light, which enables it to kill the bugs. And that's a similar technology, albeit watered down, from what they use in hospitals to clean medical equipment.
That's incredible, and actually quite useful. We've seen in promo that everyone wants to go into PPC and so PPE, and it's nice to actually again, and this is why everyone out there, we talk about desktop. Matt comes into our clients. He is part of our team because remember when wireless charging came out, Matt, and that video that you sent me, and we spoke about it at the time, where there was a lot of cheaper NFC chargers out there, but it desktop were only supplying with the Qi is the expression. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, it's that knowledge that Matt gives us or comes into the client that really does pay off in the long run. And let's jump straight into sustainability, because it's, again, a lot of people out there can supply a charger or a power bank, or you can go to China and do it yourself. We'll talk about EE in a minute. But why did Zupa, the range that you've got, or yourselves, see that sustainability was such a sought-after commodity within big blue chip companies?
I think we listen to the marketplace, and and by going to meetings with your customers, with yourself and your sales team, then we listen really carefully to what customers are telling us, and we could see around about 12 to 18 months ago that sustainability and eco products were becoming more and more not just fashionable, but something that people would only want in the future. And we saw then that there was a market niche to have a mixture of sustainability and tech products. Now, sometimes that can be quite a strange mix, because tech products by their nature often involve batteries, wires, all kinds of stuff, which isn't particularly good for the environment. However, they are very much the fashionable products that people want to keep with them. And if they're cool and they fit your own digital lifestyle, they're the sorts of products that would stay with you in your bag on the way to and from work, around you at your workstation in the office, and hence for your customers, then you get a higher return on your investment, because your logo stays with your customer for much longer. So for us, the challenge was to try to find a way of mixing up sustainability and useful tech products, which is what we've sort of developed over the last about 12 months since we introduced this little guy, which we call Mr. Bio, which was our first major step into the world of tech products for the current phase. We were actually, funnily enough, supplying computer mice around 4 years ago that were made from a biodegradable material.
Really?
At the time, it was too early, and customers didn't see the value at that stage. But something like this we introduced around about 12 months ago now, which became our award-winning product for last year, which mixes both a biodegradable plastic shell with a recyclable material for the legs. And then from a tech point of view, we have both twin access points for power. So you've either got what they call USB-A or USB-C, and then you have your output via micro USB-C or Apple. So around about 12 months ago, we could see that there was a strong demand in the market for sustainability mixed with tech. So we then looked hard and spoke to our supply partners and our design partners in China, and decided that we needed to roll out across the board a mixture of promotional tech products which cover the major areas, which would include audio. So that would be things like Bluetooth speakers. It would include power, which includes things like kind of power banks, and includes, let's say, more novelty items. So things like this little guy here, which is a kind of mixture of a Bluetooth speaker and a selfie button. So over the last 12 months, we've really reached out into all the areas of promotional technology and made sure that our offering is very much focused towards the sustainability angle, because we recognize that that's what customers are looking for and certainly will do in the future.
What is the new sustainable tech made of? You said about in the past it was recycled plastic or recyclable plastic. What's the new range made of?
Well, at the moment we've got this very much the fashion for this year is this range, which is made from a mixture of 20% of natural, what they call wheat straw, natural wheat as a raw material, and then 80% mix of biodegradable plastic.
Right.
So the shell of the product, it's taken off and snapped away at the end of the product's life cycle, the shell of the product will biodegrade in around about 2 years, right, as opposed to 10 years plus if it was a regular plastic. But that's not stopping us now. At the moment, we're looking at, for the future, also to have the shell made out of a mixture of coffee and biodegradable plastic, believe it or not, and also tea and biodegradable plastic. And then we're looking at other natural materials such as cork for introduction into our ranges over the coming 6 months. So we see this as an ongoing roadmap, if you like, in terms of moving our products to a more sustainable nature over the coming 2 to 3 years.
Obviously, the struggle is actually the tech inside, because you obviously have to have circuitry board and you have to have solder, and is there any advancements in that regard? Because obviously the inners are still not, unfortunately, sustainable, because obviously the nature of them. But is there developments in that regard?
We're certainly working on that. I mean, the key for us is safety and compliance. So whilst it would be attractive sometimes perhaps to try to cut some corners and find more natural ingredients inside the product, we wouldn't feel comfortable about doing that unless we were 100% sure that the product is safe and compliant to all the EU regulations. What we're doing, Andy, to try to sort of get around that is to work on, let's say, the overall percentage of the product which is has sustainable credibility, rather than necessarily just at the product itself. So, for example, our packaging now all is made from FSC card, so there's no throwaway plastic, there's no horrible EVA foam inside. And that's not just, say, our sustainable range, but it's our whole product range now features this kind of sustainable FSC card. But we're also looking at our transportation. So we're looking at the ways that we import the product in from the Far East. So we're looking more and more towards bringing products in by sea freight, which lowers the carbon footprint of the product. We're also looking, believe it or not, at the train from China. So there's now a train, which again is reducing the carbon footprint of the product, and a little bit faster than sea freight, but certainly not as polluting, let's say, as airline importation. But then we're also working with the factories to try to reduce their carbon footprint inside the factory as well, and that can be just simple things from reducing the amount of electricity they use, reducing water consumption, if that's appropriate to the product manufacturing. So we're kind of engaging with technicians, with environmental consultancies, to work with our main partner Zupa, to really look at all ways that we can reduce the carbon footprint of the products for our promotional tech range.
So it was interesting. Train. How long does it take?
I think it's around about 24, 25 days from memory. So it's comparable to the boat. It's comparable to the boat, a bit quicker than the boat. Certainly lower carbon footprint. Just a few issues in terms of costs at the moment, because I don't think the uplift for the train cargo hasn't quite been as big, I think, as some people thought it would be. So there certainly are some sort of cost implications. But we're looking at all angles at the moment. We see this as a kind of ongoing journey. It's not just a sort of short-term range offering for, let's say, now or this month or next month. It's a kind of longer-term sort of 6 to 3 year plan, if you like, to sort of reinforce our position as the niche leaders in sustainable promotional technology.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that there's no feet off the mic. It's what I was going to say is, packaging, people forget about it, and they do a great job in getting sustainable products, and then actually mess it up by getting some big plastic packaging or your packaging. Are you able to brand it? Are clients able then to?
Yeah. What we tend to do with our packaging, Andy, is we have let's say a standard kind of FSC craft board, right. But then we'll have a little sleeve around that, and the sleeve itself lends itself very nicely to be completely branded up. So this is the opportunity to use the front and back of the sleeve around the craft box to generate the message. But we can also use kind of bespoke 4-color packaging, but we also find that some of our products, so for example, like this little guy here, which is a little kind of buddy cable. So this one is made from recyclable material, and then we simply plug this in. And at the moment, when we all need friends and buddies, this is quite a nice little charging cable. The packaging here is what we call reusable. So packaging can either be, let's say, recyclable, which is FSC card coming from managed forests, which can easily be recycled, or it's what we call here reusable. So this potentially is your branding opportunity, front and back on the insert card, which is FSC paper, but then you have a really nice quality sleeve, a nice quality pouch here, which after the product's taken out and used, this can be reused to put money into. Could be if you're going to the gym, you can put your keys into it with a nice little zip-up wallet. So it's reusable packaging. So the packaging itself has a life after the product has been consumed and used and put into your backpack, etc.
And that's obviously something we've learned from obviously one of our key clients who look at sustainability as a circular motion rather than just being, what is it made of? But things like, does it have another use? So we want to get rid of single-use plastic, but they look at it as in, well, what else could it do? And we see that with other products where you can have a pen pot, that it's been put into. So that's really important as well, isn't it? That people don't just think to themselves, well, it's got to be 100% made of wheat, or it's got to have no packaging. It's about thinking about what your corporate social responsibility policy is to the environment, sustainability, and using our knowledge and expertise to work around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think an example of our sort of packaging, let's say, has gone from something like this perhaps used to be the sort of packaging style, which would be acetate window, box, foam inlay, to now a much more craft and sustainable packaging option. However, that's not right for every customer, because some customers still want to have the value locked into perceived high-end gift packaging. And we can still do that. We can still opt into that and give customers a more 4-color type packaging style if they want it, and then we can still source that in natural materials. So we can still have a 4-color premium retail style packaging, even though it's made from craft materials. And certainly for some of our customers in the automotive industry and the motor racing industry, that's the perception of the gift when it's given to the recipient is very important, because it is a gift that holds a brand, and the brand is to reward activity or loyalty.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it, isn't it? It's very desirable. So, what we all generally find is that they're the sort of products that people want but never generally go and get. I think charging cables have been so popular, and the amount of money I've spent in airports, I even carry them around, but there's still the amount of money I've spent in airports. I need to charge my phone, put me charging cable in the suitcase. It's $29.99 later, and it's like,
yeah,
we sell them for a lot less.
yeah. I think you're exactly right. I think a lot of our range has always been that sort of desirable, nice to have if it was a gift, but isn't necessarily something that you would go out and buy yourself. And an example of that is, in terms of something quirky and fun, is this little guy here that we just launched. Now the sunshine's come out with, is a little umbrella for your smartphone. So here you simply attach this to your smartphone, and then it shades the screen from the sunlight. And I think that pretty much summarizes the sort of thing you probably wouldn't go out and buy yourself, Andy. But if somebody gave it to you,
I think I from my head.
If it's something that somebody gave it to you, then you would use it and you'd smile every time you see their logo and their brand. And that's our products are often quite complex, Bluetooth, TWS, all kinds of new technologies. But we also like to have things in the range which cause people to smile, make people associate in a positive way with your brand. This is another good example of this, which is a little charging cable here where we can add company logo to the legs. So you can plug it in to either your USB-C or your USB-A power source. But in terms of a squidgy thing, it's out, and it's just a fun thing that keeps people amused and squeezing during the day when they're at work.
Brilliant. And again, but you're right. It's that sort of thing that's stands you aside from other people. That again, it's a compliant product. There is a serious side of the tech. Where when you supply chargers or cables, that they meet specification compliance. But the other side is you can still have them products like you've just shown and be fun.
Yeah, totally. I think whenever we're looking at products, we have a number of criteria which we look at, and one is to try where possible to future-proof the product. So that would be, for example, as I say, over the last kind of 2 to 3 years, there's been a big change in terms of technology from what they call this, which is USB-C, which is the new connectivity for all non-Apple phones, and then the older USB-A in terms of a plug. So what we tend to do is we build in to our charging cables the opportunity for customers to either use a laptop or an older style USB plug or a power bank, or they use the new USB-C plug in their Mac, for example, or the USB-C charging port. So we kind of design in future-proofing for the product so that it works over a longer period of time. And then we've always built in, the number of different products it's going to be used with, whether it'll be an Apple plug, whether it'll be a USB-C smartphone, or an older micro USB device. So that's something that we take very seriously. Even if the products are a bit fun and quirky, they have to be fit for purpose, and they have to be as generally universal as possible to make it a useful gift when it's given out by your customers.
Wouldn't it be nice if Apple just fall into line and actually use USB-C or the micro? Well, it is because they changed from the bigger lightning to the bigger connector to the lightning, and it is very frustrating when you've got other products that use micro USB or USB-C, and but it must add cost when you add in for a product like that into the mix.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't think it's going to be all that long before Apple decide to move to the USB-C plug also, because it enables far greater power to be transmitted through the USB-C than the either Lightning or the micro plug. And that's why all the other major manufacturers such as Samsung, Google, etc., of smartphones have all moved over to that. And also, of course, although it's not particularly been marketed by Apple, if you buy now a new iPad, that will have a USB-C connector in it rather than the Lightning connector.
Oh, wow.
So, and of course, Macs have all had USB-C only ports now for quite some time as well. So as an organization, Apple are certainly moving towards USB-C. I think it'll only be a matter of time before there'll be a universal switch to USB-C across all devices, and it'll certainly make it easier for us as consumers to then manage our cables.
Don't. Honestly, I'll be moving tomorrow, and I honestly, there's a pile of cables in the corner, and it's like, when you don't chuck them away, it's like, I'm sure this is going to come in useful sometime or another.
Yeah, I think we all have those in the usually in the kitchen drawer somewhere. There's like you open up the drawer and there's about 12 or 15 cables all in there that
Never the one you want.
at some stage you're going to use that at some point.
It's never the one you want, though.
Exactly.
Let's, before we go to some questions and answers, where do you see sustainable tech going? Can you see technology moving far enough that actually the whole product could be compostable, biodegradable, made from natural fibers and yeah, just
I think that'll depend a little bit by product area. So you've got you've got two main areas within promotional technology. You've got the kind of power, which is things like power banks, charging cables, and there certainly probably is room for things like charging cables to be going more and more down a sort of compostable or a natural route over a period of time. Things like power banks will probably be a little bit more time ahead before things like lithium batteries can be replaced by an alternative, and people like Apple and Samsung will probably be driving that kind of consumer development more so than people necessarily in our sort of promotional sector. But yeah, for sure, I think I think the use of natural materials in the shell and the casings for promotional technology is certainly something that will rapidly expand now. And we'll certainly be aimed to be at the forefront of working with you and your customers on that. And then I think over time we'll be looking at working more on the transportation, on the packaging, and those will be the main areas for development, I think, over time.
And Zupa are clearly, working with Intraka, yourselves to develop these products. Where do they see it going? Because obviously the easiest thing to them, because they were selling product and people design those products, but are they fully behind it? Do they see sustainability just as a way of selling more product, or are their factories becoming more green? Are their factories looking after their staff better and developing the products? And we spoke to Essential Louis at Central a few weeks ago, and obviously they've transferred their facility in Luton so that water goes round in a circle, basically. So none of the inks go out of the building; it gets cleaned and really, really quite eco in that regard. And I wondered if major manufacturers like Zupa are looking at the same as their own sustainability as well as the product sustainability.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I think they have adopted and see the strategy of sustainable technology as being the way forward, and I think they're looking at with our help and some support of some environmental consultants, looking at ways to improve their processes, to increase their sustainability and reduce their carbon footprint, and they also look to the major manufacturers and sort of massive events like the show in Vegas, CES, and they go and visit these shows where the global giants such as Google and Microsoft and Apple, etc., are exhibiting, and also kind of walk the floor and sort of see where the trends are in terms of consumer electronics over the coming sort of 2 or 3 years, some of the likes of Samsung, etc. And they've identified that that is one of the major areas of expansion and an opportunity over the coming period, and that's why, together with our sort of capability on the ground, if you like, in terms of listening to your customers and hearing about what the sorts of products your customers are looking for, that we can then work with the likes of Zupa as a Chinese design manufacturer to find those products, develop those products, and then look at their overall structure and the strategy to make sure that they're doing the best they can to make the right amount of money for themselves, make the right product at the right quality, and also, of course, very importantly, to make sure that their whole supply chain and the suppliers they use and the team and the people that they employ are all treated in the right way, and that's very important to us. And indeed, as I think we've found with you, Andy, is that sometimes we've been asked to source a product, and if the factory that manufactures that product's not up to our standards in terms of the ethical and the social compliance, then sadly we have to walk away from any size of deal sometimes, because that's very important to us in terms of our business ethics.
Yeah, no, it's easy. It's, the particular accountants that we deal with, and they're risk averse. But they have modern slavery, social enterprises, sustainability. They put out targets that are difficult to meet, but they publicise them, and so it's not a game to them, as you know, and that's why and they order a lot of tech. And funny enough, Matt, they just re-signed for a year today, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that might make you smile. It made me smile. But but that particular client, we have said no to stuff in the past because we know that ultimately it doesn't meet their CSR, their culture, their philosophy. So, and I suppose it makes our job. We learn a lot more, don't we? By that, it's very easy to supply product in a box and forget about it. But when you start caring about the environment and what sustainability means, and there's only a certain amount of brown sites where we can dump stuff or send to China, it's not really the way to go about it, is it? It's taking responsibility.
For sure. I think, the product compliance and the ethical sourcing side of our business, and making sure that, that we are registered and we're paying the right taxes in terms of disposal of the product at the end of the natural life cycle in the UK is fundamental to our business, really. And we also see ourselves, as as a specialist in this area. And that's why we joked about sort of techie face masks earlier, but that's why we decided, even with the pandemic and the financial crisis that it was about to unravel, we decided to stick to our guns and stay as a specialist in promotional technology, is what we know, rather than trying to become just a general importer of face masks or hand sanitizer or something along those lines. So we took that decision because we spent this kind of 12-week lockdown period looking at new ideas, looking at new sustainable products for the autumn, and indeed, one of the items that we've just come through is this quite neat little kind of set here. So we've got 5,000 mAh power bank, which is roughly 2 recharges of your phone, and a little Mr. Bio wheat cable together as a gift set. So this is something that when we package it up, we can add a logo to the sleeve, a logo to the product, and it's a nice gift set that we're working on for the autumn. We're also working, as I say, on this one, which is a little new one, which is a little Super Boy, each also made from the kind of sustainable material, and a few other things that we can't quite show you yet. But
certainly, that's the second time today someone said that. Earlier.
3 or 4 weeks. We've got a really cool little.
Give the people that have logged on a little taste, just a little snippet.
Well, we've got a little Bluetooth speaker with magnets attached to its feet. So it's from our best-selling Mr. Bio range. So we're developing lines along this route. So if you imagine, it'd be like Mr. Bio with a Bluetooth speaker built into his body, with then his legs would have magnets. So you could then attach that to a whiteboard, a fridge, and listen to the music wherever you are. So that's a kind of coming soon of something that will be ready, hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, that we'll be able to share with you as soon as it's ready.
Excellent. Right, let's move on to anyone that's got any questions for Matt. Obviously, also, do you all be aware that this webinar will be available afterwards, and I promised you that I'm going to show you our web store to enable you to order your own merchandise after this. Anyone got any questions for Matt? Whilst I'm literally just trying to open this up. Anyone got any questions? Vinny, you normally have some questions to ask. Where you gone? Surely Leo's not running ragged. He's been enjoying lockdown, has Vinny. Been dad's account director, jester. Bear with me one moment. Let me open up this link. Where are we? Joe, where are you on, Joe? There you go. Right, so I'll open this up and share my screen. Because again, it's simplistic in its look and feel, but actually, I was talking to a major CRM about this, and this is how it all come about, Matt. And basically, this CRM have 6 marketing teams for Europe, and basically, they used to put on events for 50 to 1,000 people a month, and probably in the region of 20, 30 events. And so events can't just stop, but obviously they wanted to use merchandise in the same way. But as a driver, so the events are all going to be virtual now. The idea being that once obviously someone's attended, they get this code, and obviously they get to use the code on the store. How do I share my screen? Okay.
Yeah, we're finding a lot of our products that have the packaging that we talked about earlier are finding that a really useful thing, Andy, by being able to put that message onto the packaging, whether it's the insert card about the event either that is to be held, so you're kind of mailing it to potentially people's homes at the moment, to encourage them to log on to that virtual exhibition or event, or as a reward gift for logging on to the event. Then things like the insert cards or the packaging on the sleeve are great for that, and in terms of delivering the wider message via an insert card as opposed to the brand reminder, which would be on the actual product itself.
And we do struggle sometimes with promotional merchandise to get a longer message across, don't we? So header cards and stuff like that are a great way to add a bit more either colour or a message. So here's the simple site. This is going to be mailed to everyone that's attended today. Obviously, you'll get a code. It's a one-time use code. So you put your code in, press enter, and straight away you're brought to, tells you your code was successful, and then it shows you the products that are available. And so you'll decide which product you'd like, or you want a bit more information. So you come in, select your gift, and then you proceed and check out. And it's as simple as that. From a supplier's point of view, from a client's point of view, ultimately what we're doing is saying end-to-end solution. We can find using suppliers like yourselves, Matt, the product. We can brand the product, but then rather than obviously in the past they would take them products to an event and hand them out. By doing it this way, we can also look to see who's attended the webinar, but then who's engaged with the merchandise and actually use the code. So you get a bit more data back to see how engaged that person is. That's going to be
that was great.
Just to get a bit of useful, as we know, the event industry's been absolutely hammered. And when we started speaking about this, it was like, actually, this has got some legs. We can now pick, pack, and fulfill anyway. Actually, if we can give the ability for the client to still send merchandise and still using it in that regard, then we've still got an industry. That's what I thought.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, Vinny has got some questions. So let's have a look. Let's share it with everyone. Vinny says, options, broadcast to the room. So Vinny says, I was wondering if you're linked to any social enterprise or give back to charities in any way.
It's not something that we are at the moment, but we certainly are working on that for the future, particularly in terms of sustainable charities. So it's something that's a watch this space, that we will be having something along those lines in the future, where if somebody buys one of our sustainable tech products, then there will be a contribution towards planting a tree or some kind of sustainable charitable link. So it's certainly something that's on our radar, and we will be able to come back to you in the autumn one.
Brilliant. Just to let you know, he does love your new product ideas, by the way.
Great.
That's good for you. He does follow that on with, he knows of some suppliers who offer plastic bottles, and they go to a social enterprise in Canada called the Plastic Bank. I don't know if there's a question or statement there, Vinny. You've been drinking? I know some suppliers who offer plastic bottles, and they give to social enterprises. Oh, okay. So basically, they give something to the plastic bankers in. So yeah, exactly what you're saying, Matt. That ultimately, because also, you've got to think, I suppose if you look at, something like Zoopla, do they have their own factories in China, or do they use third parties?
It's a mixture, really. They have some assembly factories. Like a lot of factories, they tend to buy the components in from different suppliers, manufacturers, and then they assemble them and print them, usually in their own factory.
Right.
One of the schemes that we're looking at is like a kind of carbon offsetting scheme. So that's something that we're looking to try to do for later on this year. So yeah, as I say, whether there is one of our sustainable products has been bought, then there would be an offset against the environmental impact to the planet by planting trees or something along those lines. So it's something that we've got a couple of other suppliers that we were aware of. Think could do a great job on that. And one of those is this one here, which is called House of Marley. So House of Marley is one of our sort of brand partners. So we supply their products to the promotional market. They're mainly a retail brand, and they have a product. They have numerous products, things like Bluetooth headphones. They have speakers. They have these little wireless, almost like kind of like AirPod style earbuds. And they have something which is called Project Marley. Now, Project Marley, for every one of their products that you buy, there's a tree planted as part of the Project Marley. And they have a counter on their website, which is rather cool. So you can see how many trees have been planted according to how many House of Marley products have been supplied. House of Marley is probably, in terms of as the retail brand, is the leading retail brand in terms of sustainability. What we tend to find is quite a few customers will buy their products, and then perhaps we'll put a sleeve around the outside to put over a promotional marketing message, when sometimes, for example, something like this is difficult to see on the camera, but is a waterproof Bluetooth speaker. So this material is fabric, so very difficult to put a logo onto. Yeah. But when you put a sleeve around the box, makes a great reward gift, staff incentive, loyalty gift. So you get your marketing message over on the sleeve around the packaging. You have probably the leading retail brand in terms of sustainability, and you're getting the carbon offsetting by helping to donate to that Project Marley.
Brilliant. And also with products like that, people remember where the product comes from, even if it doesn't have a logo on, because if it's a desirable product, their friends and family will ask, where did it come from? And exactly. They will say X, Y, Z because they know exactly, because it's not that piece of promo that's left in the drawer to rot.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's something that some people say to us, sustainability, and sustainability isn't just about the product and what it's made from. It's about the fact that if you buy a better quality promotional tech item, the product itself has a much longer life cycle because people keep it for a lot longer, and so you're actually reducing overall impact of promotional products by buying a better quality product in the first place, rather than something that is at a throwaway price and is then frankly quite often thrown away after 1 or 2 or 3 uses. So sustainability isn't just about the product and what it's made of, it's also about buying a better product that's more targeted to give your customers a return on their investment and to keep their logo in front of their target customer or their staff or a team for a much longer period.
Brilliant. Well, there's no more questions in. Obviously, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy man. You've obviously already done some webinars and podcasts this week. It is roasting hot, so you don't really want to be inside either. Thank you very much to everyone that attended. You'll be receiving your code, so do log on and choose a piece of Matt's sustainable tech. The webinar will be available afterwards as a replay, and we'll download it, put it on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, and all the usual channels. Matthew Pluckrose. Matthew, I can't believe I just called you Matthew. Matthew Pluckrose. I was meant to say Mr. Tech. Thank you very much, mate.
You're welcome.
And, can't wait for the next one.
Perfect. Nice one. Thanks, Andy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And all the usual